They said I won't make it. Not just one person, everybody in my village. From the woman who sells pepper to my uncle who always smells like palm wine. They all said the same thing.
This boy just a dream. You're not gonna be calm.
And honestly, they weren't wrong about the dreaming part. I do dream big, loud, dangerous dreams. Dreams that make people laugh and shake their heads like I'm mad. You see, I grew up in Umuokoro, a small village where everybody knows your name, your father's name, and even your great-grandfather's secrets. And in this village, dreaming is a waste of time. They believe your future is what your father did. So since my papa was a palm wine tapper, I was supposed to follow the rope. Climb the tree and tap the wine. End of story. But me? I wanted more. I wanted to see planes, not just see them fly over our sky like proud birds, but actually sit inside one. I wanted to design things, build things, maybe become an engineer. I didn't even know what engineers really did, but it sounded powerful. That was the beginning of my wahala. The first time I told my mother I wanted to be an engineer, she paused while turning Gary on the fire and said,
"Engineer, with which money? Now first what I do? Got bits."
But I didn't stop dreaming. I started fixing radios in the village, broken torches, fans, even Mama Ngozi's old sewing machine. Anything I could open and scatter, I tried to fix. People started calling me the boy with sabi wire, but still, they laughed behind my back. When I passed WAEC, some said I cheated. When I got admission into a polytechnic, others said I would drop out after one semester. When I finally left for school, my uncle called me one night and said, "Better learn. Mechanic for that side. This book, no go carry you reach anywhere." But guess what? I didn't stop. Even when I was sleeping in uncompleted buildings during school breaks because I didn't have transport back home. Even when I hawked pure water and fixed people's phones just to survive. Even when I failed my first exam and cried like a baby in the hostel, I didn't stop. Because deep down, I knew if I fail, they win. And I know Gree. Now I'm in my final year. I've built 2 tech prototypes that my lecturers use as examples in class. I run a small business online fixing gadgets. I've even been invited to speak in 3 other schools about my journey. But funny enough, my village people don't know all this. They still think I'm somewhere suffering. Still call me that. Bewego soon return. Still laugh when they pass my mother's shop and say,
"Your son still they waste time for that polytechnic."
The first time I came home after 2 years, it was not planned. I had just finished my industrial training, and the man I was working under dashed me 10,000 naira. That 10,000 looked like 1 million in my eyes. I quickly used transport and came back to the village, not to show off, but to see my mother. I missed her as I entered the village on that hot Thursday afternoon, dust rising behind the Okada that brought me. I saw them. The same people, Mama Ifeoma, still at her pepper stand. My uncle, still holding his gourd of palm wine. Even Chidera, my childhood friend, now a tailor, who once told me, "Guy, forget school, come learn work." They all saw me. Some looked surprised. Others just hissed. I walked straight to our compound, and the first thing I saw was my mother bending beside her cooking stove, fanning the fire with a broken plate. When she saw me, she didn't talk at first. She just stared. Then she shouted. She ran to me, wiped her hands on her wrapper, and hugged me tightly. The hug nearly broke my ribs, but I didn't complain. That hug was warmer than any food. That evening, word spread fast. "Chuka is back!" Some people came to greet me, but you could see it in their eyes. They came to confirm if I had failed or dropped out. Some asked small questions like,
"You still did at your school? You never tire for that city life. You no one learn mechanic again."
I just smiled, because I realized something. They didn't hate me, they just didn't understand me. They were used to a certain way of life. You go school small, drop out, come back, marry, and start farming or trading. Anything outside that was madness. But I wasn't mad. I was focused. Later that night, while my mother served me ibe with bitter leaf soup, she looked at me and said something that made my chest tight. "Chuka, you dey try. No mind them. Even me. Sometimes I no understand your journey. But I dey pray for you." That was all I needed. You see, I didn't need everybody to believe in me. I just needed one person, one prayer, one reason to keep pushing, and I did. After that visit, I went back to school with fire in my bones. I registered for a national tech competition. I stayed up many nights building a simple solar-powered charger for rural homes, and guess what? I won second place. They gave me a laptop, some cash prize, and a free training with a tech company in Lagos. That was the turning point. From that moment, doors started opening. People began to notice. Strangers online shared my project. Someone even said, "This boy from Nigeria will go far." But back in Umokoro, they still didn't know. They still thought I was a boy with big head and bigger dreams. They still said I wouldn't make it. But I'm not done proving them wrong, because one day, very soon, I will not dusty and tired. I will return in a clean car, maybe with a small camera crew, just for fun. And I will go to Mama Ifeoma's stand, smile at her, and buy all her pepper. Then I'll look at her and say, "Mama, your pepper go well with jollof inside air-conditioned kitchen." I didn't plan to go viral. All I did was post a short video on Instagram. It showed my solar-powered charger, the one I built for the tech competition. I just wanted to inspire a few students like me. But within days, boom, over 200,000 views. Comments from people in the US, UK, Ghana, South Africa. One man even messaged me saying, "Young man, I believe in your dream. I want to sponsor your next project." I didn't cry. I just laid down on my hostel bed and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Because for the first time, somebody outside my mother believed. Meanwhile, in Umokoro, things were happening. Suddenly, my uncle, who used to mock me, started telling people that my nephew did do well. Oh, I always knew he had sense. Even Mama Ifeoma, the pepper woman, now greeted my mother with, "Your son is lucky, oh. The boy get destiny." Destinika, just months ago, they said. That boy too, de form Oyibo. Now they were calling me our village pride. Funny how people switch when your story starts sounding sweet. I didn't let it get to my head, though, because the truth is I was still struggling. The journey wasn't soft. I was still sleeping with fan as AC. Still eating Gary and groundnut on most days. Still battling doubts and delays. But I was no longer alone. I now had a voice. I had proof that even a village boy with nothing but dreams can shake the world. Then came the big one. I got an email. It read, "Congratulations. You've been selected for our fully funded tech incubation program in Germany." Germany, as in the same Germany I used to draw flags of in primary school. That Germany. I ran out of the cyber cafe shouting like a mad person. People on the street looked at me confused. One woman said, "They'll be for this generation. Every small thing them go shout, if only she knew." I didn't tell anyone in the village yet. I wanted it to be a surprise. So I planned my homecoming. Not with pride, but with peace. I entered Umuokoro this time in a clean Toyota Corolla, the car my sponsor helped me get. I wore a plain black shirt and jeans, no designer labels, just neat and respectful. But the dust still rose as I drove into the village, just like the first time. Children ran behind the car. "See big man! See big man!" Mama Ifeoma stood, mouth open. My uncle dropped his cup of palm wine, and my mother, she came out running. Wrapper barely tied, her hands on her head shouting, "Jesus! Jesus, is this my son?" I came down from the car, hugged her and whispered, "Mama, your prayers worked," she cried. But before I could say another word, people started gathering. Phones came out. Pictures started snapping. Somebody even asked for a selfie, and that was when I saw him, Chidera, my old friend, the tailor who once said I would drop out. He looked at me, shook his head slowly, and said, "Guy, I no go lie. I didn't see this coming. The end. Germany is waiting, because I did. New challenges are ahead. I always did. I've made it this far, not to stop, but to go even further. Because if a village boy like me can do it, anybody can. So the next time you hear someone say, 'my village,' people said I won't make it. Tell them, neither did mine. But I did anyway. Germany was cold. Not just cold, like Harmattan breeze in the village, I mean real ice inside your bones cold. The moment I came out of the airport, I almost ran back in. I was wearing the thickest jacket I owned, but this cold was not for the weak. Still, I smiled. Because I wasn't in Umuokoro anymore, I was in Germany. Me Chuka from Umuokoro. standing in a land I only saw in textbooks. The first week was like a dream. Tall buildings, electric trains, clean roads, people walking fast like they were chasing time. Everything was sharp, precise, and organized. It felt like the future. I was staying in a student hostel with young tech minds from India, Brazil, Kenya, even Canada. We were all selected for the same incubation program. We had mentors, access to laptops that cost more than a plot of land, and daily workshops on innovation and design thinking. I won't lie. At first I felt small. These people were speaking tech grammar I didn't understand. They were using software I had never touched. Some had started companies. Me? I was just a village boy with passion. I almost gave up on the third day. That night I sat by the window, staring at the snow falling gently outside, and I remembered the words again. That boy won't make it. I clenched my fist. No, I whispered. I didn't come this far to doubt myself. From that night, I changed gear. I started staying up after classes, learning every tool they mentioned. I watched YouTube tutorials. I asked questions. I became the student who didn't sleep. Slowly, things began to shift. My ideas got better. I started building a prototype, a smart solar box that could power an entire kiosk in any rural area. Think of Mama Ifeoma and her pepper stall. Now imagine her stall with light, fan, and even phone charging all from one solar box. When I presented the idea, the room went quiet. Then the lead mentor said, "This is not just brilliant, this is needed." They gave me a round of applause. That night I cried, not because I was sad, but because I had carried the spirit of Umwokoro all the way to Europe. And it was winning. After that, interviews started coming in, invitations to tech expos, even German newspapers wanted to hear my story. One reporter asked, "What drives you?" And I said, "My village people said I won't make it, so I had no choice but to make it big." Meanwhile, back in the village, my mother became a local celebrity. People now came to her shop just to greet her and hear updates. My uncle now introduced himself as Uncle to the Boy, Wade, Germany. And Mama Ifeoma? She started calling her pepper stall Chuka's Corner, but deep down, I knew I hadn't reached my destination. Germany wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Because my goal wasn't just to succeed abroad. My goal was to go back and build something real in my village. To prove that success isn't just escaping your roots, it's using your success to water the same soil that raised you. I never left Umwokoro in my heart. Every time I stood in a clean tech lab in Germany, I remembered our broken generator. Every time I saw a smart vending machine, I thought of Mama Ifeoma's pepper basket. Every light bulb I saw reminded me of the darkness in my village when NEPA takes light. So after finishing the tech incubation program, I used my grant money, not to buy designer clothes or build mansion in the city, but to build something they had never seen before, a small tech hub in Umwokoro. I called it Dream Tech Center. It was painted sky blue with solar panels on the roof. Inside I placed 6 computers, 2 printers, 1 solar-powered generator, and shelves of books on technology, agriculture, and business. The idea was simple. Teach young people how to dream, and then show them how to make it real. When I returned, this time I didn't come quietly. I invited the whole village. We set up canopies, speakers, chairs. My mother wore a brand new wrapper and couldn't stop smiling. My uncle came early, wearing sunglasses like a celebrity. Even Chidera the tailor made a new outfit just for that day. When I stepped forward to speak, the mic shook in my hands, not from fear but emotion. I looked at everyone and said, "Some if you didn't believe in me. But today, I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to show what happens when one person believes in himself and never gives up." People clapped. Some nodded slowly. A few wiped tears. Then I cut the ribbon. And from that moment, Umwokoro changed. Children who had never touched a computer before were now learning how to type. Young girls were learning graphic design. Boys who once mocked me were now volunteering to teach others. We started holding monthly tech boot camps. Students came from nearby villages. I even brought in some of my friends from Lagos and Germany to give virtual classes. We gave scholarships. We fixed solar lights around the village. We showed films in the evenings that taught farming with modern tools. And slowly, my village, people started saying something new. Who would have thought that boy really made it and came back for us? But me? I just smiled. Because this was the real success, not the flight to Germany, not the viral video, not the car. It was this, planting light in a place that once said I would never shine. The DreamTech Center was booming. Every evening, the compound was filled with children tapping on keyboards, laughing, learning, asking questions. Even parents started coming not for tech, but to understand what was changing their children's minds. But with success came problems. The first challenge was envy. Some elders said I was doing too much. One said, "He wants to take over the village." Another whispered, "He's spoiling our children with Oyibo sense." Then came the sabotage. One day, I walked into the center and found the solar cables cut. Someone had destroyed them in the night. Another time, our chairs were stolen. A few students stopped coming. Their parents said I was using juju. It broke me. I sat alone one night, under the same udala tree where I used to dream. And I asked myself, did I make a mistake coming back? But then, I heard footsteps. It was one of the girls, Ada. She used to sell roasted maize, but now she was the best in our graphic design class. She stood beside me and said, "Oga Chuka, don't stop. You're the reason I know I'm more than a village girl." That night, I wiped my face, stood up, and decided, let them fight me. I'll keep building. We replaced the stolen chairs. We installed CCTV cameras. I called for a community meeting, not to fight, but to explain what we were building. I said, "This center is not mine. It is ours. If you burn it, you burn the future of your own children." That speech changed hearts. Slowly, even my biggest critics became my strongest allies. Elders brought food during boot camps. Youths guarded the building at night. Umokoro had finally seen the light. And so we rose. Today, DreamTech Center has trained over 300 young people. Some now work in Lagos. One just got a remote job from Canada. Ada. She's now designing posters for big churches and wedding events across the state. And me, I still walk the dusty roads of Umokoro. Not with pride, but with peace. Because I did what they said I couldn't. And I didn't just make it, I helped others make it too.
Naka, let us run away together and get married. You know I love you so much.
Emika, please, let's not do this.
In a land where love is whispered beneath the trees, in a village where duty and dreams collide, comes a story of two hearts, tested by fate, bound by love.
In a small village called Omaha, everyone knew each other. The people were kind, the air was fresh, and children ran around barefoot, laughing. In that village lived a beautiful girl named Nika. She had the brightest smile and the softest voice. She helped her mother in the market every day, selling vegetables. There was also a boy named Ibuka. He was tall, dark, and strong. He worked on his father's farm and was always full of jokes. Everyone said he would make a good husband one day. But Ibuka did not care about what people said. He only cared about Nika. Nika and Ibuka grew up together. They played by the riverside, fetched water from the stream, and watched the stars at night. As they got older, their friendship turned into love. Every evening, they met under the old Udala tree near the hill. They talked about their dreams. Ibuka wanted to open a big farm, and Nika wanted to go to nursing school. "I will marry you one day," Ibuka told her one night, holding her hand. "I will wait for you." Nika smiled, no matter how long it takes. But life in the village was not always fair. One day Nika's father called her. He said a rich trader from the city had come to ask for her hand. In marriage, the man had cars, money, and promised to take care of her family. Nika begged her father to say no. She cried and cried, but her father had already said yes. Ibuka heard the news from the palm wine tapper. He rushed to Nika's house, but her mother said she was not allowed to see him anymore. He sat alone, under the Udala tree, waiting, hoping, Ebuka waited under the udala tree every evening. He hoped Nika would come, even just to say goodbye, but she never came. One night, as the moon shone brightly and the crickets sang, Nika came quietly. She wore a wrapper and had tears in her eyes. "Ebuka," she said softly. He stood up quickly. "Nika, I thought I would never see you again." She ran into his arms, crying. "I did not want to marry that man. I begged my father, but he said I must obey. He says love cannot feed a family." Ebuka's voice shook. "But we had plans. We were supposed to build our life together." "I know," she whispered. "But my father says this is best for all of us." They sat under the tree, holding hands in silence. The stars blinked above them. Nika placed something in Ebuka's palm. It was a necklace he had made for her long ago from cowrie shells. "Keep this," she said, "so you won't forget me." "I can never forget you, Nika," Ebuka replied. "You are in my heart forever." A week later, the whole village gathered for Neka's traditional marriage. There were drums, dancing, and cooking pots everywhere. But Nika's smile was missing. She looked like a bird trapped in a cage. Ebuka didn't go to the ceremony. He stayed by the river, throwing stones into the water, thinking about how dreams can be stolen. From that day, things changed. Ebuka stopped smiling. He worked on the farm from morning till night and barely talked to anyone. Nika was taken to the city by her new husband. Nobody heard from her again. Months passed. Rain came, the sun came, and the mango trees bore fruit again. But nothing felt the same for Ebuka. He still walked past the udala tree every day, hoping Nika would return. He stopped making jokes. The village people noticed. "Love has broken Ebuka," the old women said. Meanwhile, in the faraway city, Nika was not happy. Her husband, the rich trader, was never around. He traveled often, and when he came back, he hardly spoke to her. She stayed in a big house with shiny floors, but it felt cold. No one laughed like in the village. No one played under trees. No one called her Adam like Ebuka used to. One night, Nika sat by the window, holding the old cowrie shell necklace. In her hand, she had hidden it in her box. Tears rolled down her face. Back in Nkalogu, Ebuka began to write letters he never sent. He wrote to Neka about his day, about the farm, about the river, about the way the udala tree now looked older. But one day, a strange thing happened. A young girl from the next village came to buy yams from Ebuka's farm. After collecting her yams, she whispered, "Are you Ebuka?" He nodded. She looked around and handed him a small folded paper. She said, "You should read it." When you're alone, Ebuka took the note, heart beating fast. His hands shook as he opened it. It was Nika's handwriting. "Ebuka, I am not happy. I miss the river. I miss the tree. I miss you. Every day I wish I had run away with you. If I come back, will you still be there?" Ebuka stared at the note, his heart heavy and full. He looked up at the udala tree. The wind blew gently, just like the night they last sat together. Ebuka read the letter again and again. His heart beat fast, like a drum at a village festival. For the first time in many months, he smiled just a little. He folded the letter neatly and placed it in the small wooden box where he kept her cowrie necklace. From that day, he returned to the udala tree every evening. He cleaned the ground beneath it, sat on a small mat, and waited. He didn't know when she would come, or if she even could, but he waited. Back in the city, Nika made a decision. Her husband had traveled again. That night, she packed a small bag. She didn't take clothes or gold. She only took the things that mattered: her necklace, the last photo she had of her mother, and her slippers. She boarded a small bus early the next morning. The bus moved slowly over rough roads, passing towns and forests. Nika held the necklace tight in her hand and looked out the window. Her heart was loud in her chest. She didn't know what would happen, but she was going home. The sun was setting when she reached NK Polo Jew. Everything looked the same, the dusty roads, the children running, the smell of roasted corn. But something inside her had changed. She walked quickly toward the idolatry, her eyes wide with hope. Abu was already there. He sat, resting his back on the tree, holding a piece of wood he had been carving. When he looked up and saw her, he froze. Nika, he whispered, not sure if he was dreaming. She nodded, tears already falling. I came back, she said. I don't know what will happen next, but I couldn't stay away. Abuka stood up slowly. For a moment, they just stared at each other. No words, no noise. Only the sound of the leaves. Above them, then he held her, and the pain they both carried melted for a moment. But just as peace touched them again, a loud voice shouted from behind the bushes. Nika, they turned quickly. It was her husband's driver. Her husband's driver, a tall man with a sharp face and dark sunglasses, stepped out from behind the bushes. His voice was loud and angry. Madam, your husband said I should bring you back right now. Ibuka moved in front of Nika. She's not going anywhere. She came here on her own. The driver laughed. You think you can stop me? Her husband owns 3 shops in the city. He said if I don't bring her back, I shouldn't return. Nika held Ibuka's arm tightly. Her voice was low but firm. I am not his prisoner. He doesn't love me. I don't want to go back. The driver pointed at her. You'll bring shame to your family. Do you want your father to be called a failure? Ibuka stepped forward. Tell her husband to come himself if he wants to take her. More villagers were coming out now. Some women from nearby farms had stopped working. Children stood behind trees, peeking on Old Man. Papa Ozo walked slowly to the scene. He was the oldest man in Enkalogu, with a white beard and wise eyes. He looked at the driver and said calmly, This is not the city. Here, we don't force people. The driver clicked his tongue. I'll be back, he warned. Then he walked away, kicking dust as he went. The people started to whisper. Some were shocked. Others were proud of Nika's courage. That night, Nika and Ibuka sat again under the udala tree. She laid her head on his shoulder. I don't know what will happen next, she said. Ibuka looked up at the stars. We'll face it together. But deep down, they both knew that trouble was not over. Her father might still be angry. Her husband might return, and the village. Some people might turn their backs. Still, Nika had made her choice, and under the udala tree, in the quiet night, 2 hearts beat as one brave. Scared, but full of love. The next morning, the village was buzzing. Some people praised Nika. She followed her heart, they said. Others shook their heads. She has brought shame to her family, they whispered. But Nika and Ibuka didn't hide. They walked through the village. Together, heads held high. When they reached Nika's father's compound, he was sitting on a wooden bench, staring into space. Her mother stood at the doorway, wiping her eyes with the end of her wrapper. Papa Neka said, kneeling down. He didn't speak. Please, forgive me. I know I disobeyed you, but I was not happy. I couldn't live that life anymore. Her father's eyes were red, but he didn't look at her. You think life is about happiness? He said. It's about duty, about sacrifice. I gave that man my word. I know, Papa, but I couldn't lie to myself. I couldn't lie to you. Ibuka stepped forward. Sir, I may not be rich, but I love your daughter. I will work day and night to care for her. Her father turned his gaze to Ibuka, stared for a long moment, then stood up slowly and walked into the house without saying a word. Nika's mother came closer and held her daughter tightly. My child, she whispered, love is not a crime. But this path you have chosen will not be easy. That night, Nika stayed with her mother. Ebuka walked home alone under the stars, wondering what tomorrow would bring. 3 days later, a black jeep drove into the village. The rich trader Nika's husband had come. He stepped out, wearing dark glasses and a fine white outfit. 4 men came with him. They didn't smile. He marched straight to Nika's father's house. Villagers followed behind, whispering, "I want my wife," he said. Nika stepped out of the house and stood before him. "I am not coming back." He raised his voice. "You think this boy can give you what I can? You'll suffer with him." Ebuka arrived just then. He had heard the noise from his farm. He didn't speak. He simply stood beside Nika and held her hand. The rich man laughed. "You've made your choice. Good. But don't come back crying when hunger slaps you." He turned to Nika's father. "You will regret this. I promise you." Then he walked back to his car and drove off, dust rising behind him like a storm. The crowd was silent. Nika's father stood by the door, watching everything. He looked at Nika. "You've brought fire into this house." "But Papa," she said, "sometimes love is worth the fire." Life wasn't easy for Nika and Ebuka. After the rich trader left the village, some villagers mocked them. They whispered things like, "Let's see how long love can cook soup," or "She left gold for sand." But Nika and Ebuka didn't listen. Every morning, Ebuka went to the farm before the sun came up. He worked hard planting yams, cassava, vegetables, and even started raising chickens. Nika joined him too. She sold the produce at the village market, and soon people from nearby towns started asking for their food. Then, one lucky day, a businessman from the city came to Ngologu. He was looking for someone to supply fresh farm produce to his restaurant chain. People in the village pointed him to Ebuka's farm. The businessman tasted Ebuka's tomatoes and smiled. "You're the one I've been looking for," he said. That same month, Ebuka signed his first big contract. It was worth millions of naira. He expanded his farm, hired workers, and even bought a delivery van. He also built a small farmhouse at the edge of the village. People couldn't believe it. The boy they once mocked had now become one of the richest young farmers in the region. 6 months later, Ebuka and Nika had their traditional wedding. But this time, it was grander than her first marriage. There were drummers, dancers, and colorful decorations everywhere. Guests came from many villages. Even the man from the city who gave Ebuka the contract attended and brought a gift. Cow Nika's father sat in front, proud and quiet. At the end of the ceremony, he stood up, walked to Ebuka and Nika, and said, "I was wrong. You have brought honor to this family. I forgive you, my daughter." Nika hugged him, tears in her eyes. Her mother smiled wide and said, "You see, you followed your heart, and God followed you with blessings." That night, under the stars, Ebuka held Nika's hand and whispered, "I told you one day we would be happy." Nika smiled. "Now, I am not just married to a rich man, I'm married to the man I love, Toyers." Later, Nika gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The village women danced and sang for 3 days. Ebuka named the boy Chimdi and the girl Alubub. People came from far and near to see the twins of the famous farmer and his beautiful wife. Some who once mocked them now used their story to teach their daughters that true love, patience, and faith can build the sweetest home. And every evening, when the sun was going down, Ebuka, Nika, and the twins would walk to the old Udala tree, sit under its shade, and tell them the story of a love that was tested but never broken.
Town called Loma, there lived a young man named Toby. Toby had a big smile and strong arms. Every morning, he woke up very early, even before the sun came out. He tied a big pot on his small wooden cart and pushed it to the busy road near the school. Toby sold jollof rice, fried plantains, and chicken. The food smelled so nice that children and workers stopped to buy it. He made a little money every day, just enough to buy food. Toby did not go to school, but he was very smart. He knew how to cook well, count money fast, and talk kindly to people. Everyone called him Chef Toby. One day, something strange happened. As Toby was setting up his cart, a big black car stopped in front of him. A man in a suit came out. He looked serious. "Who owns this cart?" the man asked. "I do, sir," Toby replied. "This road is no longer for selling food," the man said. "Pack your things and leave." Toby's heart beat fast. "But sir, this is where I sell to feed my family." The man did not listen. He waved his hand and walked back into his car. Toby sat on the road, confused and sad. Where would he go now? Would his little brother and sister eat today? Just then, a small voice said, "Toby, don't cry. You're the best cook I know." It was Mimi, a schoolgirl who always bought food from him. She smiled and gave him a drawing she made. It showed Toby in a big restaurant with a sign that said, "Chef Toby's Kitchen." Toby looked at the drawing, then looked up at the sky. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end. Toby kept looking at the drawing Mimi gave him. It made him feel warm inside, like a little fire of hope. He folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. "I can't give up," he said to himself. The next day, Toby didn't go to his usual spot. Instead, he walked around town with his cart. He stopped near a church, but the gate was locked. He tried near a market, but too many people were already selling food there. Toby was tired, hot, and hungry. Still, he didn't stop. Finally, he found a small park where children were playing. He set up his cart under a tree and opened the pot. The sweet smell of jollof rice filled the air. One by one, people started to come. What's that smell?" said a woman with her baby. "Jollof rice and plantains," Toby said with a smile. Soon, the line got longer. Toby was happy again. But just as he served the last plate, a boy ran to him crying, "Help, my sister fell in the river." Without thinking, Toby jumped up and ran after the boy. He left his cart, his money, and everything behind. When he reached the river, he saw a little girl struggling in the water. "Hold on," Toby shouted. He jumped into the river and pulled her out. People clapped and cheered. The girl was safe, but when Toby went back to the park, his cart was gone. Everything, his food, his pot, his money was gone. Toby sat on the ground. He was wet, tired, and now had nothing. But then, the girl's mother came running. "Thank you, you saved my daughter," she said, hugging him tight. "What is your name?" "Toby," he said softly. She looked at him kindly. "You're not just a food seller, you're a hero." Toby smiled a little, but inside he still felt sad. How would he start again? Just then, something happened that would change his life forever. As Toby stood there, shivering and sad, a man in a clean shirt and glasses walked up to him. The man had been watching everything from the park. "I saw what you did," the man said. "You saved that little girl without thinking about yourself. That was brave," Toby nodded. "But now, I've lost everything." The man smiled. "Sometimes, when you lose something, it's because something better is coming." He reached into his bag and gave Toby a small card. "Come to this place tomorrow morning. I want to help you." Toby looked at the card. It read, "Sunshine Eatery, Chef Daniel, owner." Toby's eyes widened. He had heard of Sunshine Eatery before. It was the biggest restaurant in town. "Is this real?" he asked. "Yes," Chef Daniel said. "Come by 8 a.m. Don't be late." The next morning, Toby woke up very early, cleaned up, and put on his best shirt. It had a small tear at the shoulder, but he didn't mind. He was too excited. When he got to Sunshine Eatery, the building looked huge and shiny. Waiters moved around in white shirts, and the smell of food filled the air. Chef Daniel welcomed him with a handshake. "I need someone like you. You're kind, quick, and smart. Will you work with me as a kitchen helper?" Toby's face lit up. Yes, sir, I'll do my best. That day, Toby washed plates, peeled onions, and learned how to cook fancy meals. He was fast, polite, and always smiling. But not everyone was happy about Toby's new job. In the back kitchen, another worker named Connell frowned as he watched Toby work. "Why is this street boy here?" Connell muttered. "I've been here for 2 years, and I've never gotten praise like him." Connell had a plan to make Toby fail. Connell didn't like how everyone was talking about Toby. Even Chef Daniel said, "Toby, you're a fast learner. Well done." That made Connell angry. One afternoon, while Toby was peeling carrots, Connell walked by and knocked over a bowl of hot pepper sauce. Splash! The red sauce spilled everywhere, on Toby's shirt, on the floor, and on the clean white plates. Everyone turned to look. "Toby, what did you do?" one of the waiters shouted. Toby stood there, confused. I didn't do it." But Connell quickly spoke up, "I saw him. He wasn't careful. He made the mess." Toby felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to cry, but he held it in. Chef Daniel came into the kitchen. "What's going on here?" Connell pointed at Toby. "He messed up the plates and wasted food." Chef Daniel looked at the mess, then at Toby. "Is that true?" Toby shook his head. "I didn't do it, sir. I promise." Chef Daniel thought for a moment. Connell, you've worked here long, but Toby has always been honest. I'll check the kitchen camera." Connell's eyes widened. "Camera," he said quietly. "Yes," Chef Daniel said. "We have a camera in every corner." He left to check the video. Toby cleaned up the mess quietly, his heart beating fast. After a few minutes, Chef Daniel came back. "Toby," he said, smiling, "you were telling the truth. Connell, I saw what you did." Everyone gasped. Connell looked down in shame. "You will apologize," Chef Daniel said, "and take a break from work for 1 week." Connell mumbled, "I'm sorry," then walked away. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Chef Daniel. "You are not just a good cook," he said. "You are honest, and that matters most." Toby smiled. He felt proud. He didn't let lies bring him down. Later that evening, as the sun went down, Chef Daniel called Toby aside. "I have another surprise for you," he said, "but I'll tell you tomorrow." Toby went home that night with a full heart and big dreams. But tomorrow, something unexpected would happen. The next morning, Toby woke up before the rooster crowed. He wore his neatest shirt and hurried to Sunshine Eatery. His heart was dancing with excitement. "I wonder what the surprise is," he thought. When he got there, Chef Daniel was already waiting. He smiled and handed Toby a small white envelope. "What's this?" Toby asked, opening it slowly. Inside was a letter with big, bold words. "Welcome to the Sunshine Eatery Training Program, full scholarship." Toby read it twice. "Wait, are you saying I'm going to school?" "Yes," Chef Daniel laughed. "A cooking school. You'll learn everything: baking, soup making, cake decorating, and more. And when you finish, I'll help you open your own food stand." Toby's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Chef Daniel patted him on the back. "You earned it, Toby. You remind me of myself when I was young." But just as they were talking, a police van stopped in front of the restaurant. 4 officers stepped out and walked straight toward them. "Good morning," one officer said. "Are you Toby?" Toby froze. "Yes, I'm Toby. You need to come with us," the officer said. "There's a case we're investigating, and your name came up." Toby's heart sank. "What? But I didn't do anything." Chef Daniel stepped forward. "What is this about?" The officer said, "Last week, a food cart was reported stolen. The owner said someone who looked like Toby took it." Toby's mouth dropped open. No, sir. My cart was stolen too." The officer looked serious. "We're not arresting you, but we need to ask some questions at the station." Chef Daniel looked at Toby. "Don't worry. I'm coming with you." As they got into the van, Toby's hands were shaking. He didn't understand. Who would say he stole a cart? And what if no one believed him this time? The police van moved quickly through the streets. Toby sat beside Chef Daniel, trying to stay calm. His heart felt heavy, like a stone. When they got to the station, an officer led them into a small room. Inside sat an old man with a walking stick. He looked tired and angry. "That's him," the old man shouted when he saw Toby. "That's the boy who took my cart." Toby stood up, shocked. "What? No, sir. I never took anyone's cart. Mine was stolen too." The old man squinted at him. "You used to sell food near Green Street, didn't you?" "Yes," Toby nodded. "But I was chased away. I moved to the park. Then my cart disappeared when I went to save a girl." The old man paused. He looked at Toby again, longer this time. Then he frowned. "Wait, are you the boy who saved a child from the river?" "Yes, sir," Toby said softly. The old man sighed. He took off his glasses and wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Someone told me a street boy took my cart and sold it. I was angry. I thought it was you." Toby looked confused. "Then who took it?" The old man nodded. "I truly am sorry, son. If there's anything I can do to make it right, tell me." Chef Daniel looked at Toby and smiled. "Actually, there is." He turned to the old man. "Toby just got a scholarship to our cooking school. When he finishes, he'll need a food cart to start his own business. Maybe you could help." The old man chuckled. "A new cart, that's easy. He can have one tomorrow. A strong one, even better than mine." Toby's eyes shone like stars. "Thank you, sir, thank you so much." As they left the station, the sun was shining brightly. It felt like the sky was smiling just for him. But as Toby stepped out, a voice behind him whispered, "You may be lucky today, but I'm not done with you yet." Toby turned around quickly. It was Cunnel, the jealous kitchen worker. And this time, he had a plan that could ruin everything. Toby froze when he saw Cunnel. Cunnel's eyes were cold, and his lips curled into a sneaky smile. "You think you've won, don't you?" Cunnel said quietly. "You think Chef Daniel really cares about you? Just wait." Before Toby could reply, Cunnel turned and disappeared into a tricycle down the road. Chef Daniel placed a hand on Toby's shoulder. "Ignore him," he said. "Focus on your future. You're meant for bigger things." Toby nodded, but in his heart, he felt a little afraid. He didn't trust Cunnel at all. The next few weeks passed like magic. Toby began his cooking classes. He learned how to bake bread, fry crispy chicken, and even make jollof rice that smelled so good people clapped after tasting it. He worked hard and always stayed after class to clean and practice. Soon, everyone in the school knew his name. One afternoon, Chef Daniel called him into the office. "Toby, your food is amazing," he said. "I think it's time for your first big test." Toby sat up straight. "What kind of test?" "You'll cook for real customers at our street food event this Saturday. You'll have your own stand and menu." Toby gasped. "Really, my own stand?" Chef Daniel smiled. "Yes, we'll call it Toby's Taste." Toby jumped up and down with joy. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." But far away, in a corner of the city, Cunnel was watching from the shadows. He had heard about the event, and he had a plan. That Saturday, as Toby set up his stand, Cunnel sneaked through the crowd with something hidden inside his backpack. The day of the street food event was bright and busy. Music played from speakers, children ran around with balloons, and the smell of suya, fried rice, and sweet puff-puff filled the air. Toby stood behind his food stand, Toby's Taste, wearing a white apron and a big smile. His new cart gleamed in the sun, freshly painted with yellow and red stripes. It was his dream come true. "Come and taste the best jollof rice in town." He shouted happily. People lined up. Toby served plates with care. Every spoonful was perfect. People smiled, nodded, and said, "Wow," after their first bite. But while everyone was clapping for Toby, Cunnel was hiding near the back of the crowd, holding something inside his backpack, a small bottle with dark liquid. "It's time," he whispered. He waited until Toby turned to serve another customer. Then, quick as a flash, he stepped forward and poured the liquid into a bowl of stew behind the stand. But he didn't know someone was watching. Little Muna, the same girl Toby once saved from the river, had come to buy food with her mother. She saw Connell bend behind the cart and quickly tip something inside the pot. Her eyes grew big. She tugged her mom's hand. "Mommy, that man put something in Uncle Toby's food." Toby turned around just in time to see Connell walking away, smiling to himself. "What's going on?" Chef Daniel asked, walking over. Toby looked at the stew and then at Muna. "He put something in it," she said again. Toby didn't wait. He quickly picked up the bowl and handed it to Chef Daniel. "Sir, I think something bad just happened." Chef Daniel sniffed the bowl, then called security. They checked it. It was full of bitter herbs and strange black powder that could make people sick. The crowd gasped when they heard. Within minutes, Connell was stopped by 2 security men. Chef Daniel walked up to him, holding the poisoned stew. "Why, Connell?" he asked. "Why would you do this?" Connell looked down. "Because everyone forgot me. No one ever clapped for me like they do for him." "But this isn't the way," Chef Daniel said sadly. "You could have hurt someone." The police were called again. Connell was taken away. Toby stood there, shaken but proud. "You were brave," Chef Daniel said. "And smart to check. You saved everyone again." The people clapped, this time louder than before. Some hugged him, others took pictures. Toby smiled through the tears in his eyes. He didn't just have a food stand now. He had a story, he had respect, and he had a bright future. But the journey wasn't over, because just the next day, someone special showed up at Toby's cart. And he brought news that could change Toby's life forever. The next morning, the sky was quiet and the sun was soft. Toby was cleaning his new cart, humming a song, when he saw a black car stop near him. Out stepped a tall man in a clean suit. He wore glasses and carried a shiny briefcase. "Are you Toby?" the man asked with a friendly smile. Toby nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. My name is Mr. Emeka. I work with a big food company called Royal Kitchen Nigeria. I heard about what happened yesterday, how you stopped someone from poisoning the crowd, and how everyone loves your food." Toby blinked. "You did?" "Yes. In fact, our boss saw a video of you online. It's going viral. People are calling you the boy with the golden spoon." Toby laughed shyly. "I was just doing what's right." Mr. Emeka opened his briefcase and brought out a colorful folder. "Well, we believe boys like you should go far. Our company wants to offer you a big opportunity, a full scholarship to study at the Royal Culinary School in Lagos. All your food, books, and travel will be paid for. You won't be leaving forever," Mr. Emeka said. "You'll come back wiser, stronger, and ready to make your food dreams come true." Toby looked at the sky. His heart was full. He had started with nothing, just hope and a hungry stomach. Now, he was being offered something he never dreamed of, a future. But deep inside, he knew, the journey wasn't just about food. It was about standing strong when things go wrong. About doing good even when it's hard. About never giving up even when the street gets rough. Toby took the folder with shaking hands. "I accept," he whispered. And just like that, the real journey began. The next few weeks felt like a blur for Toby. He packed his things, said goodbye to his friends in the neighborhood, and left the familiar streets of the city. Chef Daniel and Muna waved him off as he boarded a bus to Lagos. It was hard to believe everything was happening so fast. "Make us proud, Toby," Chef Daniel shouted, his voice full of pride. "I will, sir," Toby shouted back. "I promise." The journey to Lagos was long, but Toby could hardly sleep, filled with excitement. When he finally arrived, Mr. Emeka greeted him at the bus station and drove him to the Royal Culinary School. The building was big and shiny, and the smell of fresh bread and spices filled the air. "Welcome to your new home," Mr. Emeka said, showing Toby around. The school had everything: kitchens with sparkling counters, classrooms filled with eager students, and halls filled with food posters. Toby couldn't believe it. This was where he'd learn from the best chefs in the country. Over the next few months, Toby worked harder than he ever had before. He learned new cooking skills, from making perfect pastries to designing beautiful cakes. He spent hours learning how to mix flavors and create dishes that told stories. His teachers were kind, but they pushed him to be better. But even in such a big school, Toby never forgot his roots. Every evening after class, he would write down recipes from his street vendor days, tweaking them, adding new ideas, and making them even better. One day, as Toby was decorating a cake in class, he noticed a familiar face. It was Cunnel. Toby's heart skipped. What was he doing here? Cunnel was standing by the door, his face grim. He looked different, like he had changed. Toby wasn't sure what to feel. Cunnel? Toby asked, walking toward him. Cunnel looked at the ground. I'm sorry, Toby. I know I hurt you, and I know I made terrible mistakes. Toby nodded slowly. What happened to you? Cunnel sighed. After everything that happened, I got into trouble. I lost my job. I was angry at the world. But then I realized something. The way you help people even when they were rude to you, it made me think. Maybe I can do better. Toby's heart softened. He remembered the old Cunnel, the jealous man who'd tried to ruin his dreams. Why are you here? Toby asked. I'm trying to get into the culinary school, too, Cunnel said quietly. I want to change. I want to cook, but the right way. Toby thought for a moment, then he smiled. If you really want to change, you can. But you have to work hard. It won't be easy. Cunnel nodded. I'm ready. And just like that, Toby made a decision. I'll talk to Chef Daniel for you, Toby said. Maybe you can get a chance. Cunnel's eyes widened. You'd do that for me? Toby smiled. Everyone deserves a second chance, Cunnel, even you. The next day, Toby went to Chef Daniel and told him about Cunnel's apology. Chef Daniel listened carefully, then nodded. If Cunnel is serious, Chef Daniel said, he can start working here as an apprentice. But he has to show me he can change, and just like that, Cunnel got another chance. Months passed, and soon, Toby graduated with honors from the Royal Culinary School. He was ready. He had everything he needed, skills, a passion for food, and a heart full of dreams.
Donna was born into a family of 7 in a small town in eastern Nigeria. She was the eldest of 5 children, the first daughter of her parents, and the bearer of a silent but heavy responsibility, one that had been passed down through generations without question. From the moment she was old enough to understand, her life was not her own. It was dedicated to her siblings, her parents, and the unyielding traditions that bound her existence. Growing up, Adana never had the luxury of childhood innocence like her younger siblings. While other children played in the dusty streets, laughing without a care in the world, she was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup under her mother's watchful eye. While her brothers were excused from household chores, allowed to run free with their friends, she was up at dawn, sweeping the compound and fetching water from the community well. By the time she turned 10, she had learned how to cook, clean, and care for her younger siblings. At 12, she was a second mother to them, waking up in the middle of the night to soothe her baby brother when he cried, and ensuring her sister's school uniforms were neatly ironed. Her mother, overwhelmed with responsibilities, often turned to her saying, "You are my right hand, Adana. Without you, how would I manage?" Those words felt like praise and a prison sentence all at once. When Adana turned 16, her father lost his job. The once comfortable home became a place of whispers and worry. There was barely enough to eat, and school fees became a luxury they could not afford. Her brothers were allowed to continue their education without question. They are men, her father would say. They need their certificates to take care of us in the future. But for Adana, the future had already been written. "We need your help at home," her mother said one evening, her voice tight with unshed tears. "Your siblings need you." So, she dropped out of school and started selling akara by the roadside at dawn and roasting corn in the evening. The money she made paid for her brother's education. She watched them dress in neatly pressed uniforms while she sat by the roadside, her hands blackened with smoke and her feet aching from long hours of standing. Yet, no one thanked her. Years passed, and Adana's brothers graduated, one after the other. They wore their achievements like badges of honor, speaking of their dreams and ambitions, while she remained where she had always been tied to the home, still a caretaker, still unseen. Then, love came knocking. Shinadu, a kind man who had noticed her struggles, asked for her hand in marriage. For the first time, Adana saw a glimpse of freedom, a life where she was not just a sister, a daughter, a second mother, but a woman, a person with her own dreams. Her father refused. You are not married before your brothers have settled. Who will take care of your parents? Who will support your sisters? Marriage is not your priority right now. Her heart broke in ways words could not describe. As time passed, Adana learned to silence her own needs. She opened a small shop and used her earnings to ensure her younger sisters went to university. Her brothers got married and moved away, rarely sending support. Her parents grew older, and their reliance on her deepened. People in the community praised her, saying, Adana, you are a strong woman. But inside, she felt hollow. One day, while preparing dinner, her youngest sister, Amaka, who was now in her final year at university, asked her, Sister, don't you want a life of your own? Adana forced a smile. This is my life. But what about your dreams? Adana had forgotten them. Had she ever had the luxury of dreaming? As the years passed, many suitors came for Adana's hand in marriage, but they never stayed for long. Some genuinely loved her, but were afraid of the burden that came with marrying her. Others had heard the stories how her family depended on her for survival, how she was more of a provider than a daughter. If I marry her, will I be marrying her entire family too? One man whispered to a friend after meeting her parents, who subtly hinted at the financial responsibilities they expected from him. Another suitor, a well-to-do businessman, had been serious about her. He adored her kindness and strength, but after one visit to her home, where her father casually mentioned that they would need him to help finish the house renovations and support her younger sister's education, he withdrew without explanation. It hurt. It hurt every single time a man she liked walked away, not because of her personality, but because of the baggage her family placed on her. She knew it wasn't their fault her parents had grown to depend on her, but she also knew that no man wanted to carry another family's load before even starting his own. Eventually, the proposals stopped coming. People assumed she had chosen to remain single, that she had given her life to caring for her family. No one knew how many lonely nights she spent, wondering if she would ever have a love story of her own. One evening, after a particularly hard day, Adana collapsed. Her body, weary from years of labor, could no longer bear the weight. When she woke up in the hospital, she saw her family around her worried, afraid. For the first time in her life, she let the tears fall. I am tired, she whispered. I have given everything, and I have nothing left. It was then that her family finally saw her not as a pillar, not as a provider, but as a woman who had sacrificed too much. After leaving the hospital, Adana hoped her family would change. She hoped they would let her breathe, but things only got worse. Her parents became more demanding. Her brothers sent their children to live with her, expecting her to raise them just as she had raised her younger siblings. You are their aunt, they said. It is your duty. Adana wanted to scream. When would this duty end? Would she carry this burden until she grew old? Would she ever be free? Her mother fell ill, and the responsibility of paying hospital bills fell on her. Her brothers refused to contribute. You are the firstborn daughter. You should take care of her, they said. Adana felt trapped. No one saw her pain. No one cared that she was exhausted. She cried herself to sleep every night, wondering if this was all life had to offer her. One day, Adana made a decision. She woke up before dawn, packed her few belongings, and left. She left behind the house she had built, the siblings she had sacrificed for, and the parents who had never seen her as anything more than a caretaker. She moved to another town, rented a small apartment, and started afresh. She cut off contact with those who had taken her for granted. For the first time in her life, she was free. And though the guilt ate at her, though she missed her family, she knew she had made the right choice.